Welcome to RecLess, a podcast making people smarter and more knowledgeable about parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from around the country, bringing their own unique and sometimes entertaining perspectives with a surprise guest each episode. This is RecLess.
Well, welcome to the 18th episode of RecLess, a podcast where we're focusing on the industry of park and recreation through the lens of three close friends that are scattered throughout the country. I am your host today. My name is Jay Tryon, and I am joined, as always, by my two good friends, Shane Mize and Tom Venniro. How you guys doing today?
What's up? How's Tommy? Two questions.
Nickname aside, I'm here.
Tom's got a nickname of Tommy Two Questions. I think I'm
Grandpa Jay. At this point,
today I could not get the technology working. We've been trying to start this for about 40 minutes and we've been delayed. So with that being said, our guest is being amazingly patient. So we're going to do a little brief intro as we normally do. Today we are actually recording this show 2 days before Thanksgiving. So obviously when we release it, it'll be a little bit after, but just wanted to pose the question to you. We've talked on previous episodes about family traditions, but is there a Thanksgiving tradition that you guys had as a kid, or maybe now as an adult, that is something you look forward to every year and you're counting down till Turkey Day?
Is there a second question to this question?
No second question.
No.
All
right.
My two-part questions have been flagged and are no longer coming.
Yeah. So let me just really quickly make a quick public service announcement. We are now live to the public on Spotify. So as of today, just so you all know, I haven't told you that, but Hannah let us know a few weeks ago that we are now on Spotify. So those who require or really appreciate the traditional podcasting streaming service, we're good. We're on with Spotify. I didn't know what Spotify was before Hannah hooked us up, but
we may see 8 to 10 listeners from this. Pretty exciting.
Instead of 5.
That's right. Double.
So that's the good news. That's the big news out of RecLess. And then as far as Thanksgiving goes, I love Thanksgiving. I mean, we've already talked about the fall, but the tradition has kind of always been the same, I guess, even as I was a child to now. It's changed, obviously, when you get married and you have kids. A lot of those intricacies will change a little bit, and maybe some family traditions that you start with your own family. But for the main part, we get together, whether it was my parents, currently over the last so many years, it's been my uncle's house, and it's just a great day, food and football all day. Now we've got the little ones running around, which makes it really exciting and enjoyable. My wife always kind of likes to joke and say, I go to Thanksgiving. I saw this really great TikTok the other day of the difference between moms and dads on Thanksgiving. And it was pretty hilarious. It basically depicted all of these gentlemen sitting in a room on a couch, maybe deep frying a turkey or maybe putting a turkey in an oven while they sit there, enjoy a beverage or whatever it is that they're enjoying, snacks, and watching football. And my wife might be frantically watching kids or preparing food. That's not necessarily the case in our house, but she does joke around about that she's, she feels like during Thanksgiving, she's always on kid watch. And so I'm going to do a little better to step up my game and maybe introduce Jack to the football world and try to get him more enjoyed or more engaged into the games this year. It's hard with a 3-year-old, but yeah, that's I think that's pretty standard for a lot of people. I mean, you can't go wrong with family football food, the 3 F's.
There you go.
No, Amelia was listed in that little rant.
Yes. Great observation.
Already. It's already.
I will be holding Amelia while we watch football.
There you go. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. It was always a time that I got to see my grandparents when they were still alive when I was a kid. And one of my favorite things about it was obviously the food, but I love a post-Thanksgiving Day sandwich. I love taking all the cold turkey and cheese and whatever. You can do dressing, you can do some sort of cranberry sauce, you can do whatever you want. You just mash it into a sandwich. That leftover sandwich is something we've done every year. And my grandmother would make cheese dip, not queso, not a traditional Tex-Mex type cheese dip, but an actual just a blended cheese. And we dip the sandwiches in it and our Pringles in it. Hannah's already bought me 2 cans of Pringles for the post-Thanksgiving snack, things like that. So yeah, Thanksgiving's my favorite day. I love that I love that it's essentially 2 or 3 days. It's not one little day. You get Black Friday, you get the weekend to recover, which always was special for me as well. Just being someone that after a while I had to revert back a little bit to some time to myself. Thanksgiving provides that when you're watching TV or whatever. So great day, great memories, favorite holiday easily.
You look forward to turkey and you don't have steak? You take a steak break?
Yeah, no steak, just turkey. I'll do turkey those 4 days and then I'll go back to steak.
I just want to add one thing really quick too, is the holiday hangover sandwich. Shane, I'm glad you mentioned that. I love to dabble with those. And then I forgot to mention maybe one of my favorite parts about Thanksgiving, which I think maybe there are some other people out there who can resonate with, the Friday after Thanksgiving. It's been going on for 20 something years. I started probably playing 18, 19 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. We have a turkey bowl and we get out a bunch of grown men who were in their late teens and early 20s, who are now in their late 30s, early 40s, some maybe even a little older. And we get out and play football for 2 hours on the Friday after Thanksgiving in Western New York, despite what the weather may be. It could be 60 and sunny. It could be snowing. It could be raining and nasty like it is today. And after that game, we go to a local watering hole and get some of the best chicken wings you'll ever have.
So Tom, you in a way stole my thunder, because my childhood tradition, we always had a turkey bowl, but it was on Thanksgiving morning. So that was our thing every Thanksgiving from when I was, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 till I was all through college. Me and all the guys, we get together to play football. And it was a traditional thing that we would get, whether it was, like you said, it could be 50, it could be snowing with 3 feet of snow. And I literally remember playing in like multiple feet of snow. And it was like, we may not play very long, you may not be able to play very well, but we're still going to do it because it's tradition and we do it every year. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, well, let's turn things over towards the guest. Since you guessed properly last episode, you guys don't know who it is today, and I don't think you have any idea. So with that being said, I'll give you some hints. We've all known this person for quite some time. We have not worked with them, but you guys definitely know this individual. We talked about football for a minute ago, and similar to a previous guest with Michael Kirschman, this guest is also an avid fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I don't know if that gives any hints to you or not, but I know I've had many conversations with this person about football and they love their Steelers. This person is a previous instructor at NRPA Director School. They not only have contributed many, many, many years to the park and rec industry, but they are also a very experienced and very well-known track and field coach. So
I got it.
Oh,
Same name as one of your panelists.
Don't give it away.
Could be Shane, could be Jay, could be Tom.
I don't know who it is.
This guest also has very deep roots within Park and Rec because they grew up with a father that was a Park and Rec director as well. So I've been around the industry, working it, and also into it as a child growing up. They have served as a director of more than one agency. Shane still looks clueless. I love it.
I do.
Tom definitely has it. This person has presented at a wide variety of state and national conferences. My very first conference in Baltimore, I fled to this person's session and it was out the door at capacity, very overly crowded, and always has been. Shane, you still lost?
I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, well, this guest is retired from Park and Recreation, but now serves as a professor at a very large ACC school.
Clemson?
Yep. Shane still doesn't know. Tom's known for about 20 minutes. I love it. This guest resides in South Carolina. And today's guest is Tom O'Rourke.
Oh, brutal.
Welcome, Tom. This is my first time guessing before any of you. Well, Jay, you don't count today. Tom, welcome.
Yeah, it is so good to be here. It's funny, we have not heard the word Buffalo Bills yet, and Jay's spoken for about 2 minutes, but maybe we all understand why. I don't know.
Hey, we came off a W this week,
Yeah.
but other than that, it's not been very promising.
Flying high.
And I'm not ruling you out yet either, by the way.
Me neither.
Yeah, they got a tough road ahead of them, but hey, welcome, Tom. We're happy to have you here. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you thinking enough to even let me say my stupid comments on this podcast today. I'm sure I'll say something that's either offensive or whatever by the time I get done, but it sounds like this is the form in which to do things like that.
It might be fitting.
I've listened to, as soon as Jay called, I started to go through all of them, Chris, and so many of these, and you guys do a great job, because it's more than just the Parks and Rec profession, and it's you've done a great job, and I know it'll just keep getting better.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And I think some others have enjoyed it. And whether, we joke about having 5 listeners, but whether there's 5 or there's 50, we're enjoying it. And
yeah.
So, but I've been fortunate, Tom, to know you for many years now. We're only a couple hours away from each other. I vacation down in Charleston all the time. So I'm constantly visiting your facilities that you were a part of throughout your career. And I want to just start with kind of diving in deep with, you've had so many very impactful and inspiring projects in the Charleston region that I've seen firsthand. And just to name a couple, Charleston Skate Park is phenomenal. McLeod Plantation, you've come and talked to our team here in North Carolina about the Genesis Swim Fund. I just wanted to pick your brain. Is there 1 or 2 projects that you were involved in with Charleston that set apart from really what you were really proud of being a part of throughout your career?
It's important that I start off by saying that I didn't do anything. We all did this. And some people just say that. I sincerely mean that. The people at Charleston County Parks at all levels of management are so strong. And we created a culture where everybody got to speak and everybody got to talk. And it starts with values. And if your value is truly equity, inclusion, diversity, projects like McLeod Plantation don't just pop up. It's what you do to address issues in our community like racism. So we live by the values that not I made up, the entire staff made up. And it's pretty important. I have 3 children. I don't have a favorite. I don't have a favorite of all of them. I do like the skate park because some of you know Laurie Yarborough, who's the director of the city of Charleston, and she called me one day and said, hey, you need to come to a meeting. There's a group of people, they want to build a skate park, and they're trying to raise money. They're never going to raise money. And I said, they don't want us. They don't want us. I said, I'll come to the meeting. So I came to the meeting, and there's a group of people there, young skaters. I told them, we'll build it. And they were like, what? Are you serious? I said, yeah, we'll build it. I said, but you got to do it our way. Well, what's that? I said, well, you're going to wear helmets. It's going to be safe. Mom's going to drop off a 12-year-old at 10 in the morning, pick them up late in the day, and they're not going to be on heroin. So it was important that it was done the right way. And they pushed back hard. They were trying to raise $360,000. And I told them when they were fighting, they were mad. I said, hold on, I didn't ask to come here. I said, I'm going to tell you the way I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to leave. If you want me back, I'll come. If you don't, no problem. And when I got to the door, to leave, I turned around and I said, by the way, I can't build a $360,000 skate park. And they're looking at me like, what the heck? I said, I have to build a $6 million skate park. That changed the whole game.
Yeah.
And the reason I love that project so much was it gave us the opportunity to show these people that have been disenfranchised. Nobody's ever listened to them. They were a pain in everybody's butt. We made them a part of the project. They changed the plan because they didn't like it. And they created it into what they wanted, which created ownership to that facility. I like it because you'll see me down there late at night when there might be 2 or 3 skaters, but there might be a large number of people just hanging out. That's all people want to do. We're trying to figure out what do we do with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. They just don't want their parents around. They want to just hang out with each other, have music, but they also want it safe. So if they can have a safe place to just be there with their friends, that's what this also has become. It's cool to see the people that show up there. I still go down there. I like watching it. Danny McBride, he's filming Righteous Gemstones in Charleston right now. He's there with his kids every Saturday. And I want to just go up and ask him about, all the work he's done, but I don't. It's a cool place. It really is a cool place. But what I like about it is we took a section of this community that nobody listened to and nobody wanted to be around. We taught them what government was. And government is them. They spoke, we listened, and we did it. It's a pretty cool place. So it's so hard to pick one thing. I mean, there's so much good going on in that agency and your agencies and everywhere in this profession.
Tom, I got a follow-up question on government. When I first got to meet you at a board of directors meeting that you hosted in Charleston, NRPA had brought me out to speak on young professionals, and I got to tour around Charleston a little bit while the board of director were doing all the boring board of director stuff that I wasn't invited to, which was great. First of all, it was really cool to see the impact that parks had on the quality of life in Charleston. I think it was a pivotal moment for me in my career, but it struck me quickly. And if someone mentions your name, one of the first things I think of is how you have always fought to say we can do what the private sector can do. I remember taking my wife to a park. Is it called The Point? It's the fishing pier.
Yes, yes, it is. It's on Folly Beach, but it is a fishing pier.
And it's got a fully staffed, or at least it did, like a commissary or gift shop with food and a gift store and everything. And obviously a bait tackle type offering as well. And it feels like 85, 90% of our agencies, if not maybe higher, would look at that and say, that's where we bring our partners in from outside. That's when we let the experts run those places. And you have been someone who've always said, we can do it. We can do it just as well as they do it. And I've always appreciated that.
So funny, Shane. I've changed some since I've been out. The thing about Charleston County Parks, we could do it all. We had the people to do it all. And we had the governmental structure being a park district. I don't have a mayor over my shoulder telling me what to do and not do and who to hire. We didn't have that. So we were able to do pretty creative things. And I knew we had the staff to do it. The other problem we had at Charleston County Park, and the problem they still have right now, we've got to raise about probably close to $30 million a year in fees just to keep the doors open. So, but, Jay mentioned that I'm now retired. No. Look, I'm retired from people telling me what to do. I'm retired from doing anything I don't want to do. Right. I'm retired from idiot, crazy people that are above me trying to tell me what is right and what is wrong. I'm retired from all of that. I am still in the Parks and Rec game in a big way. In your area, Jay, I'm working on a project up in the Lindsay Pettis Greenway, with them. Actually, there's a town right above Charleston called Allendale, South Carolina. They have a park. It's the most beautiful park you've ever seen. It's raw land, 270 acres with 70 acres of lake. They don't have a dime. They have no money. They hired me, gave me a year to set up a management plan to actually operate this park without using any governmental tax dollars. And we're doing it. Really? We're doing it through nonprofit. We're doing it a lot like Charleston County Parks model. So I'm still in this game in a big way. But Shane, it's funny you say that, because when I was there, we could do it all, and we could do it more efficiently, and we could save money. But everybody doesn't have that opportunity. Right. And I've opened my mind to allowing, and what we're going to do in Allendale, we're going to have all kind of things. But private nonprofits are going to put on the programs. We're going to take 20% of the gross. They're going to make money. We're going to make enough money to operate, and everybody's happy. And we're not using any tax dollars, or we're not hiring any employees. And it's just an easy way to do it. So it's, I'm still out there, but it's so interesting because out of the 10 phone calls, they're getting 9 no's. and right. unless it speaks to me, and I have a couple of criteria. What I work on has to live after I'm dead. So developing a park is that. Lindsay Pettis Greenway will eventually link to the trails in Charlotte, Jay. And so these have to be impactful things. I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can say no to everybody that calls, but I'm not sitting on the couch. I'm going to do things. But what's really cool is my phone's still ringing, which is kind of neat, and that's fun. I'm speaking next week at the North Carolina, South Carolina joint conference. I haven't spoken to the SAIC conference in 5 or 6 years. And Michelle Wells is the executive director of North Carolina, who I really think the world of, and Jim Headley in South Carolina, who I really think the world of. They're asking, hey, man, you got to get back in here and do this. And it's like, okay, I'll give it and I'm going to talk about what I just said. Don't turn your back on nonprofits. And Shane, I'll bring you up. It's like, hey, you're the guy that doesn't want anybody in the door. It's like, okay, I changed my mind. I changed my mind a little. So, yeah, and I think that's a lesson for everybody, man. The world changes. Everything changes. And look, I'm old. What we did a while back is not the way it's being done right now. And if we're not able to listen and adjust and adapt, we're going backwards.
Steve Jobs always said the best argument should always win, even if he turned out to be wrong or if it changed at some point. He used to drive his staff insane from what I've read. It's like he would say go one way, someone would make a different argument, and then he would pitch and go that way because that was now the best argument. It wasn't his argument anymore. It was the best.
Yeah. I tell the story, and it changed all the time. When I worked at Charleston County Parks, my door was always open, and everyone says that. But when somebody walked in and closed it, I knew I was getting yelled at. and the one thing that I will say, in the 17 years I worked there, that door was closed a lot. 100% of the time, the person who walked in was right. And they wanted me to change something. And they didn't like the way we were doing certain things. And some of them were my decisions. And 100% of the time, we listen. And 100% of the time, we change. And if you don't do that, you won't have a staff after a while, if you're not going to do that. And so I learned that lesson easily. And it helped me. And I know this is going to sound like I'm trying to be self-deprecating or whatever. I'm not a smart person. I'm really not. And when I got the Charleston County Parks job, man, way more people more qualified and better than me to get that. But I got it. And what was so cool about not being the smartest guy in the room is I didn't stand in the front of the podium in front of 300 full-time employees and say, I'm great. Here's how we're going to do it. I didn't do it. Right. I don't know if I made a decision. We had a management team and we all made decisions. And I just think that's the way it should work, actually.
I've heard Tom O'Rourke say a few things similar to that over the years, and it's one of them stuck with me. And I literally have actually told this story probably a dozen times. One thing that you said years and years ago was, in the same context of what you're talking about, was I don't know everything about being a park and recreation director. I know how to manage people, and you know how to hire people. And I think that is such a great statement because everything that we deal with in Park and Rec changes every day. We have so many different things that we're managing. We have so many different divisions and types of scenarios and programs. And there's not going to be someone that knows the answer for every single thing. But managing your team, managing your people, being able to allow them and empower them to make decisions is probably the most important thing of being a successful leader.
Life is about communication, okay? Being married is about communication. Everything's about communication and how you communicate with people in an honest, direct, open, fair way makes things go pretty far.
I had an opportunity to work with you, Tom, as your mentee in the Academy Mentorship Program a year ago. And I think what I would have told everybody had I known Tom was going to be the guest, by the way, I need to now cross Tom off of one of my invitee guest lists. So Jay beat me to the punch. But what I would have told any of you or any of our listeners, he can give you a life lesson on so much. And you've done that already in the first 20 minutes that we've been talking. For me, that experience, I'll never forget it because the first thing that you said to me on a call was, wow, you should be mentoring me, which could not be anything farther from the truth, right? But that's, you have a way about you of doing your research, looking into the people and showing that you care about what it is that they're doing and really helping them move along. So you mentioned that you're not sitting around, you're doing some work, helping out on projects, you're teaching at Clemson. That was something that we related really well about as well. You gave me some great advice. As a mentor and going into a program like that while you're working with others, how do you go about inspiring those that you've really, not only mentored, but have been on your team along the way? Because we talked about that and Jay just mentioned it as you being someone who really is there to manage people. What is the key to inspiring people and getting them to the next level?
Oh, this is a horrible thing to say on a podcast. And I hope Cindy Sullivan isn't listening, but I'm not a big fan of organized mentoring programs. And that's not to say that when we have them that they're wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that you better have 30 people in your life and they better change over time. And it's situational mentorship. And if there's one situation dealing with one thing, you certainly should reach out. I still do it. I don't think mentors are always the people with the gray hair. And I'm serious when I say this. I still teach. I honestly take more than I give. I learn more from these students. And that's what I liked about the schools. I taught it all. Director School, Revenue School, Supervisor Management School, helped start the Park Foundation School. I taught it all. And I get more than I give. So to answer your question directly, how do you do this? Just be real. Just be who you are. Don't try to pretend you're someone that you aren't. And understand that mentoring is not a one-way thing. And I wasn't kidding, Tom. I got as much from you as you got from me. I didn't get, you just had a baby. Are you kidding me? We hardly did as much as we wanted to have. So, but let me tell you where I understood where you needed to be was with your wife and with that child and with the rest of your family. So I think people know when you're full of crap. All right. People know when you've got no substance behind you and you want to act like you do. That's where the problems come in. If you can just be a real person, because we're all in the same business. We're all doing the exact same thing. Jay mentioned that my father was a recreation director in our borough in Pittsburgh with 10,000 people. Okay, I'm managing a county of 300,000 people. My dad would have 4th of July races. I have water parks, skate parks, and RV places. Guess what? We did the exact same thing. He made people's lives better. I make people's lives better. You make people's lives better. And if anybody's listening to this, they're making people's lives better. And so there's no difference. We shouldn't act like we're anything that we aren't. And if we can just be real and honest and vulnerable, because I don't care who you are, where you are in this profession, you screwed up a lot. And you've done a lot of things that weren't that great and made bad decisions. Share them. That's how people are going to learn. But it's no different than your friends at home and the people you hang out with. You just want to be around people that are decent people and get rid of the idiots that aren't. I had fun doing that.
Me too. Me as well.
I'll follow up with the leadership question. I have 45 full-time staff. It's a pretty standard suburban park system next to an urban area. So it's not 300 full-time staff for sure. But one of my toughest things, and it's probably because I'm introverted as well, and my experience with others and an empath at times, so my experience with others drains me some. But man management of a department at times is what it almost feels like it's all I'm doing, right? And sure, I never open and close facilities. I never check people in. I'm not the person running camp. So that's the role. That's what they're paying me to do, is manage and make sure, we're capitally improving our facilities, and I'm leading the direction of the department for the city. But I would dare say that you're well known for obviously your leadership of other people. And I'm sure you have 100 different leadership strategies and books that you've read. There's got to be something that you do with leadership that you're maybe even shocked that others don't do, or it comes maybe more intuitively to you than others. If you could simply give advice for the man management of a department, because every one of my employees are getting the picture and they're all rowing the boat and they're all following for the most part. I have very few people fighting me. But they're still at different areas of their lives. Some are just getting married or have kids. Some are empty nesters. Some are early in their career. Some are, long in the tooth in some ways or others in their career, and so you're managing people where they're at and trying to make sure they see the vision and still get along the road. And I would love some advice on that, because that is something that I deal with every single day as man management.
Shane, developing your own style and being comfortable with that style is important. And I'm not so sure anybody can walk in and say, do it this way, do it that way, do it that way. But for me, I used to like to not manage the situations, but manage the managers, because leadership is judgment. That's all it is. It's making good judgment decisions. But you're not going to make a good judgment decision unless you get into the arena and you've got it really coming after you. And I don't know if it was Jay or Tom or whoever, but somebody has already mentioned, give the employees the authority to screw up. Give them the power to make decisions. And so there's no learning that takes place unless it's a mistake. So that's what you want to do. You want to have these people out there all people, the guy on the lawnmower,
Sure.
You want to be able to empower everyone to do that. And then it can't just be situational. I despise meetings just to have meetings, but I think there are follow-up opportunities when we talk about leadership, and you have to address it, and it has to be a thing that is worked on 12 months out of the year. But maybe there are meetings with different topics with everybody that talks about how we've given people opportunities to lead. And like I said, the other part of that is allowing them to make the mistake, I think. Because
that's the important part in the when they're up against that something, when they're rubbing up against friction, their confidence that they can make a mistake and not get fired or not get in trouble, that'll be a learning opportunity. Because as everyone on this screen knows, you're either under siege or it's coming. That's the only thing I can take away from my life as a leader is you're either under siege currently or it's coming for you. There's very few calm waters in this. Yeah.
So true. And the minute it is calm, put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
If something's coming.
Right.
But you know what, too? Right. I'll say this, and this sounds a little crazy. I can't remember an instance where we had horrible situation that it didn't end up better than before. If I can give you an example, I don't know how much time, but I remember this is kind of interesting, but and I don't care who's listening or I'm using names. I don't care. But so I'm sitting in my office one day. Boom, Carol buzzes me back. She said, I think you need to come up here. She never says that. So I walk up and I'm sitting there looking at Dot Scott, head of the NAACP, a guy in a suit, African-American guy, and another African-American woman. And I'm like, okay. And I knew Dot Scott. And I've actually worked with her, and it was really good relationship. We get back into my office, and the mother tells me, hey, what's going on? And they say, well, my daughter was in your Gullah camp. Gullah is the cultural part of our African-American studies camp. And at the end of the camp, there's a play that they put on. And the play they put on was called Song of the South, Little Sambo, the whole thing. And she played, oh, by the way, all white people in the camp except for her daughter. And when they told me that, I said, all right, hold on. What I always do in situations is say, let me go check with everybody. I said, here's what I want to say right now. I apologize for that. On the surface, this looks very, very insensitive. I'm sorry that we went through that. And then I went back and talked to my staff. And it was an interesting thing because the staff had really good reasons for not, apparently the girl asked to play this role. But even still, I thought, hey, maybe you go up to her and say, hey, you'd be really good at this.
Right. Redirect.
It's like appearance. But you know what? I told you about my staff. I told you my staff was awesome, and I wasn't going to fight them. But we got together the next morning, and we talked about it. But I called the mother back that afternoon, and I said, hey, listen, I like this camp. And she said, I like the camp, too. I just don't like the way you cast your people in your – I was like, all right, okay. So we met, and I called her after our meeting the next day, and I said, all right, look, answer me this question. What would it take for you to say they handled that the right way? And she was silent. And I said, no, I don't want an answer right now. She went back, took it to her church, took it to her neighbors, took it to her family. And her answer was so great when she came back. It was like 2 or 3 days. And, the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, 2 water park passes, 3, no, she didn't do that. And this lady who was so awesome, she just said something. I don't know what the words were, but she said, damn it, can you just be more sensitive? And I was like, I love that answer. And we have this thing called a gold pass, and it is gold. It sends you to everything. And I sent her a gold pass. And I said, let me tell you what, we are not who you think we are. And here is this gold pass. Use it. Use it for your family. You be my eyes and ears. And I want you to come back and tell me what you think. The interesting thing of the story, her daughter worked for us that summer and the next summer.
That's cool.
And it's my point in the story is that could have been the worst thing ever. How you handle that. If you walk in and say, well, your daughter wanted to do it. Why did you not? No. That's not the conversation. Put yourself in that person's shoes. And when you actually show empathy, real live empathy, they show it back. And then you get somewhere. So I like to tell people, don't ever look at the worst thing in the whole world as bad. Sit down and think about, how can I get on the other side of this and it be positive? Because I don't know if you can give me an opportunity where I don't think I can't do that. But Shane, it's interesting. Everybody has different management styles, and it's not like that's right, that's wrong, do it my way, this is what I said to do. That doesn't work. If there are a vision of a goal and values and mission, and you're all hitting these things, it doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter if you get there differently. Different styles actually are pretty good.
Tom, you mentioned briefly your involvement now with Clemson, and I'm very curious because I know we've talked about it briefly, and I've actually had the opportunity to talk to a couple of students there. But, as the instructor of a class that's on the other side of it now, and we're looking at, the massive changes we've seen in our industry since COVID and maybe some of the staffing challenges we're having, what would you tell current Park and Rec management and leadership when it comes to looking for new staff and growing the future leaders that are currently in your classes that you're seeing at Clemson?
Yeah. I have my own reason for wanting to work there. I want to see the people coming out of college change who they are, not what they know. I also am a little bit critical that I'm not sure that they really know what the profession is. And I like bringing in professionals to talk. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys know TJ Roston. He's from North Charleston, and he's the greatest guy ever. Amazing guy. But he was in the class the other day, and he was talking about the day that during his 10 and under baseball game, two rival gangs decided to have a fight with each other, and they started shooting each other. And bullets were flying at his game. And it's interesting because I made the students say, tell me two things you took away from TJ and Malik's talk. I have Malik Willoughby, too, from Columbus, who's also the best. What almost all of them wrote was, we had no idea that stuff like that happens out in the park system, or even could happen. And it's like, we're not taught that. We're not even exposed to that. So I want my students to understand what it is we do, okay? And I listen to your podcasts, and you have really great conversations about COVID and summer camps and how many people came. Okay, that's one part of recreation. The other part is the family without a dime, with no money. How are we getting to them? When we say we're there for everybody, are we there for everybody? Is there yoga in the homeless shelters? Is there any of that stuff? So I'm trying to just not change, but expose the hearts of these kids to understand racism, we address it. Homelessness, yeah, honestly, in some ways, we address it. So many social things out there, they're ours. And I did a project, I'm not going to say names because one of the places I was at is really close to one of you, Tom. And
just going to ask you about this.
I don't want to do anybody's master plan anymore. I did a few of those. My God, I'd rather die in a car wreck than do another master plan because I don't like the way they're done. I mean, I'll do a Tom O'Rourke master plan, but I'm not doing this old traditional thing where we walk in, hand you a book, and it sits on your shelf for the rest of your life. I'm not doing this. But I was in the midst of doing one of those after I left, and I'm in a city with all kind of money, tons more money than you could even think of, turf fields, lighting, whatever. And so I thought, oh, well, what the hell? Here I go. I'm going to say it. I don't care. So we're sitting there with the steering committee, and I said, are we going to talk about, like the real stuff? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I said, you have the highest incidence of teen suicide in the state. And they looked at me, and they weren't happy. Mm. And I didn't care because we address teen suicide. And if we don't believe we do, go get another job. And I punched them all in the face, figuratively. And it was really cool because it took a while, but we got there in the discussion. And I knew in this community, the school district was dealing with it. So that helped me with the discussion because I knew what the school district was doing. But you can't lead the state in teen suicides and have a rec department where this all-star team's beating that all-star team. Who the hell cares, man? We got to save lives. And so that's what I want to teach to these kids. I want them to just be a different person.
Yeah.
I want them to come out and I want them to save people. This is a human business. And what used to bother me greatly was the friends my age in the profession. When I started coming out talking about money, oh, they wanted to kill me. But it's not money at the exclusion of the other stuff. I mean, you create a foundation. Foundation takes care of the underserved. So yeah, we hit all the bases, but it wasn't that directly. But if you're not getting involved in some of the really tough stuff, man, I think you're doing yourself an injustice and your community.
You know, when you go into talking about the tough stuff, and you mentioned a few: racism, suicide prevention, just improving your quality of life, being accessible to all of our residents. That's a pretty good campaign to pitch to people who might want to see this as a career. I had a conversation with Jay and Chris Nunes recently about, all right, it's great once you have the juniors and seniors in Clemson, or in my case at SUNY Brockport, who are in the major and they know that they want to be in that major, whatever concentration it is. They may get it at that point, and hopefully they have someone like you, Tom, to get some of those messages across. What we're struggling with right now is seeing that enrollment into the actual major is declining, at least in our area and in some of the other areas in the country. And I don't know if you're seeing that in Clemson or not, but the conversation that we had the other day was, how do we get this message out? What's the best way to get this message out to high schools? You know, it seems like every high school counselor is talking about being a teacher and those are great professions, you know, being a teacher, being a lawyer, being this, but what about what we do? Why is that not, it's so underrepresented at that level?
Because we do a horrible job of selling what we do. The world doesn't know the lives we're changing. The world doesn't know that we're doing that stuff. And until we can make that and fund that and make that be a real part of what it is we do, I think it's going to be really difficult. But it's everywhere, Tom. I mean, people aren't going into this profession like they used to. But the other thing that happens, it's not just teaching kids to do it, because if we can't convince the elected people that what we do is important, that's where it starts. That's where the funding starts. That's where the jobs are created. Then it's going to be difficult too. But if they think we're not in this game for that reason, it's going to be a problem. And there isn't a mayor in the world that doesn't want to come to get an award for presenting something on stuff like that. We need to do a better job of promoting what it is that we do. And once we do that, and once it gets on, and my God, this phone, you can, the whole world can know what we're doing really easily. And you three, I challenge you to make this a part of that podcast. Your podcast is great, but as we look 2 rungs above, which is this profession, we got to know what it is this profession is that we're all saving, I think. So me too. We're all responsible for selling the great things because you're all doing them. I know it.
That's interesting, because good, bad, or indifferent, NBC's Parks and Rec probably brought as much, you know, like when my wife says Shane's a Park and Rec director, they don't say, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I was in Parks and Rec youth camps and swim programs and youth athletics. They say, oh, you mean Ron Swanson? So I don't know if that's an indictment on how bad we have been doing as a profession, because anyone you talk to at one time was probably involved in their city's Parks and Rec, but they don't realize that's a job at any one age. We talk about all the time that this Park and Rec industry is filled with people with broken dreams. Like they wanted to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and they ended up being the director of Pflugerville Parks and Rec. You can be a judge, you can be a lawyer. You know, when you go to a Halloween party, kids can dress up as what they want to be. No one dresses up as a Park and Rec professional. They don't know that's a thing. And scarier now is, I'm sure Clemson probably isn't feeling it, maybe even Texas A&M and Utah and Penn State, some of those really highly acclaimed academic institutions that are still probably cranking out a lot of rec majors, but we're losing overall our rec majors in the smaller schools. And so the conversations you're having with future recreation professionals at the college level is not happening anymore. And I don't know if we're doing a good job of the base conversation when they come in as a professional. And so that's just conversation lost. And so,
I totally agree.
We didn't do a great job of advertising ourselves. And NBC did a better job than we've ever done, good or bad, at making people at least know what it was that we did in some capacity. And we're losing it on the academic side. I don't know what the answer is to that. Should the state or regions do things that most students now aren't getting? Is that what we need to do? These PE majors that'll go to teach a year or two and hate it, and then will become a park and rec professional, but we've never talked to them about the importance of park and rec. Do we need to be catching them at the state level? How do we get that message across? What you're doing at an academic level, how do we get it to the people that didn't go into that major?
I think the way to do it is to make sure that there aren't people that ask you questions about being Ron Swanson. That when you're in parks, when you're in Parks and Rec, there's a new image of what that is. And until we can sell it on the national level, we're gonna have a hard time.
Is that something NRPA should be doing?
You know, I can't tell NRPA what to do and not to do.
But you're a member. You can tell them as a member.
I can tell them as a member, but I do believe it's not just NRPA. It's the universities as well. And we all need to be doing this. And it should be a part of all schools' curriculums. You know, the director's school, man, I always say too much. The reason I'm not with the director's school anymore was a very difference of opinion on curriculum. And I was the director of the director's school when I stepped aside.
Right.
And the discussions somehow turned into, oh man, we're making money. The list is, that's like, what the hell are we teaching them? And to have somebody like me stand up pushing PowerPoint buttons is crazy. The people at director's school are smarter than me. It should be a school of facilitated discussion, not a school of let me teach you how to be a director.
Sure.
They all know what they're doing. And then discussions about how do we change? How do we get the message of what it is we really do out there? And that's the stuff that has to happen. Yeah. And, you know, whose responsibility is it? I'm not blaming NRPA. I'm blaming everybody. I'm blaming me. We all need to take some ownership in this. But if our communities turn and say, whoa, there's Shane. He's the rec director. Holy heck, I'd like to do that. We did stuff at Charleston County Parks that I don't think it was illegal, but it was pretty close. But we had issues with hiring African Americans. We couldn't get them. We couldn't get them to apply. So what we would do, at me and David Bennett, we would take groups that come in for summer employment, because our summer employment numbers were great, and have conversations with, do you understand what this profession is? You know, Bennett's making $110,000 a year. It's like, oh, hell, I didn't know that. It's like, yeah, you can make money here. You can do this, and it's fun, and it's great. It's all of our responsibilities, all of our work.
I love that, Tom, and I'm just glad that you said that. That's part of the discussion that Jay and Chris and I had, and I had that same discussion with a couple people from our state that they're doing. So it's happening, and I think a lot of people are asking this same question, Shane, that you just asked and we pretty much discussed. And Jay, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to share a little bit of what you shared with Chris and I. You're doing some really, really great things at Mecklenburg County to engage the youth and educate them early on what they could be doing in this profession.
Yes, and it's interesting that you actually asked me to share it today, because tonight is our graduation for the mentee program. So for listeners out there, we offer a mentee program that is for 14 to 17-year-olds. And we literally put mentees in every single facility that we operate. So we got 25 rec mentees that are 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. They're in school with our school district, and they're working in our rec centers. And we not only allow them to work the facilities, we take them into different classes and train them on resume building and interview skills, and they work special events. We put them involved in our athletic program. So they'll work track meets, they'll work basketball games, they'll work summer camp. I mean, we pretty much treat them as a full-blown employee, but they're 14 years old or 15 years old. So it's an awesome, awesome program that we've been doing for many years. We've had several people that have pursued park and rec degrees because of it and are now in the profession, that I can probably say if we didn't have the mentee program, who knows what they'd be doing in their lives. So hopefully we can build off of that and add that to other departments around the country. If anyone's listening to this and wants to hear about it, I will share the manual that we have tomorrow and give it to you immediately. And then the other thing that we're doing starting this year with our basketball program is we're teaming up with the school district again, and we're actually hiring juniors and seniors in high school to officiate our sports for basketball and then spring sports, but they're getting credit in school to be officials with us. So not only do we hire them, they now get school credit for that. So it's a win-win for the school district. It's a win-win for us because we can pay them less than what we're paying officials. And there's obviously also the challenge to get officials for a lot of our sports across the country because, you know, who knows how many officials are getting berated by parents right now that don't want to come back and officiate.
You have some bonus if they get cursed out, these high school kids? college fun kid. Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah. No, that's really cool.
It's
So
great.
there's things out there that I think we all need to do a better job. I think Tom's hitting it on the head of like, you know, what can we do? Like we have these resources of these facilities and our knowledgeable staff of like just sharing what we do. And like, Tom, I'll share one thing with you that like, you may not realize that you did this, or I know you did it, but you may not remember this, but years and years ago, you did a session. It was a speed session at a conference, and it was titled Park and Recreation is the greatest profession of all time. The premise of this session, for those that are listening, Tom didn't talk about anything. All he did was share 30 pictures, didn't speak, okay? Literally showed a picture of a kid playing t-ball. Next picture, learning how to swim for the first time. Next picture, families at a picnic in a park. Next picture, a dog park. Didn't talk, just showed pictures, and then literally looked at everyone in the audience and said, do you agree Park and Rec is the greatest profession of all time? I think something as simple as that we can all do and just share pictures with our residents, with our elected officials, whoever needs to hear it. We all take pictures of events and programs, but what do we do with these pictures? Like we may use them for marketing, but we're not using them probably for the future like we could to grow the profession for future employment.
Yeah, it goes back. There isn't a successful business out there that doesn't have a portion of their profits to go towards promotion and sales and marketing. And I think we should have a portion of our whatever budgets go towards letting the public know, the public that's funding us, that their money is going to great things. And we're changing the community, we're changing people, and we're changing the world. And honestly, I believe all that crap, everything that comes out of my mouth. I really do. I believe it so much. I've seen it.
Man, just thinking out loud. So love to hear that Tom did that on speed sessions, because the speed sessions were my idea. I wanted to do TED Talks, and we weren't able to do TED Talks. And
great.
So the compromise was to do speed sessions, and speed sessions have turned into something where, you know, maybe you're a new presenter, so they give you a speed session first, or you didn't score very well, they give you a speed session. But if the speed sessions, if the regular hour sessions are where we talk to the industry and the speed sessions are where we talk to the soul, that would be really cool. You know what I mean? Like if speed sessions were just filled with people that you get a little big tent revival as well as some professional development that week of conference, that may be the thing that helps us know the next step on some of that stuff. I think it's cool that that's how that speed session was set up.
You want to know how that started? How I got that idea? It's kind of funny. Again, I talk too much, but I guess that's why you asked me to come on.
That's right.
I was teaching at director school, and I got done, and these 4 people came up and they said, "Are you teaching again?" I said, "Yeah, I've got a couple more things." They said, "Well, what are you teaching?" I said, "It doesn't matter. I'm saying the same thing." I said, mission, vision, work hard, blah, blah. I said, it's all the same thing. I said, I'm like Mexican food. And this little girl with dark hair walks up and says, "You've never had Mexican food." I said, "Are you from Mexico?" She said, "Yes." And we became so close. Well, the first national conference recreation in Mexico, she invited me to be one of 3 keynote speakers.
I love that.
And it's the only time, because I act like when I talk, oh, wow, this is really easy. I'm scared to death every time I open my mouth. I'm scared to death today when I talk to you. I'm nervous and I want to prepare. And I was prepared when I went to Mexico. And when I saw the first speech, I was like, oh my God, these people had no parks. They had nothing. And this guy stood up from Medellin, Colombia, and he was showing all these beautiful pictures. Like, these people didn't care. They didn't know. I went back and changed the whole presentation. And I changed pictures. I changed it to pictures of people. And I explained to them, because I met one girl whose park was stairs on an outside thing. They played checkers on one stair. They played games on another. They had nothing. And like I said before, when I was talking about my father, we're all doing the same thing. Right. They're helping out there, but I could not show Charleston County parks, water parks. I wasn't doing that. And it's the only time I went back and changed it. But I saw the impact of that, those images, and how they connected with these people. I loved that session. It was funny. I was all prepared. I stood up and everybody had on this device that translated for you. But I didn't know it had like a 5-second delay. So I walked up and I said, "Hola." And then I said, "That's all the Spanish I know." No one laughed. And I said something like, "Yeah, I learned all my Spanish from Carlos Santana, Oye, como va, corazón espinado." And then they all started laughing after. So I had to solve that. But it was so cool to be there. And it did my heart so good to see people that did the same thing I did with nothing. It's a great profession we have if we just turn it into making everybody a little bit better. It's funny. People are screwed up in this world. And we think they're not. And we think when they drive the nice car and live in the nice house, everything's perfect. No, it's not. And so when I say disenfranchised and the needy, I don't mean people that don't have money. I mean everybody. Because everybody's got something. And I think we address it all.
I love the idea that we don't all have parks, but we all have people.
Yeah, right? We all got people. Yeah, that's it.
Well, Tom, this has been absolutely phenomenal. We could probably go for 8 more hours, but
and half of those would be with technical issues.
Yeah,
that was no problem at all. No problem. Hey, listen, I got to say this. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do this. And I mean, I like to talk. I like to be in front of an audience, and I'd love to do what I told you we all need to do: sell this profession. I do it every day. I wake up.
Well, I think that's a key topic that the three of us that do this every week are going to have to kind of revisit and see how we can do that better amongst ourselves, but also with all these other guests that we talk to. And, eventually, hopefully that spreads and we can really make a bigger impact, because that's the goal here, is obviously just spreading what we do. We all love so much about what we do. And, we got to figure out a way for it to last forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Yeah, Tom, this was great. Right. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
See ya.
Take care.
See ya.
I feel terrible in the guessing game because for some reason in my head, I had your guess as a female. So when Tom said, when Tom said they share the same name, I was thinking all the J's. I was like, okay, I don't know if it was the track coach. I don't know. I was like, man, it's a female. I don't know a female J other than J. Cole. I don't think she's been a track coach. So I was like, I was so thrown off by the Tom thing.
So true story though, when we were getting this set up, I actually said he, and you didn't hear me. I quickly fixed it. So I didn't know if you heard it, but you didn't call me out on it. And you normally have in the past when I've messed it up and said she last time. So yeah, but man, I have been so fortunate to have some amazing conversations with Tom. And I think everyone that ever talks to Tom can say that. And he just makes you think differently. He will always remind us the impact we have and just make you want to go do better and continue to do what we're doing, which is awesome. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Tom's awesome. He had mentioned he's not a fan of the structured mentorship. And I could tell you that when we were trying to get together, it's tough. His schedule, his calendar is full. And like he said, he's never stopped. Retirement might be a word in his vocabulary on an official basis, but he has never stopped doing what we do and promoting the field and the mission of what we're out here each day in and day out trying to do. So, when I said that he's basically a talking lesson book, he really is. I just re-engaged in some of the stories that we talked about in these one-on-one conversations. And I can't wait to go back and listen to this episode. It looked like Shane was taking some notes, and during the podcast, I try not to do that because we are recording and I don't think I could focus as well as Shane, but I can't wait to go back and listen to this again and hear some of what Tom had to share. It, like you said, Jay, really makes you think differently, and I'm glad you brought him on.
I did take notes, and we did this podcast in a lot of ways for selfish reasons. We thought it would be really cool to see each other more. There was, I think, at least for two or all three of us, there was some just a need to help our own mental health. Just getting to see each other and talk to each other and interact. I think it at least helps me a lot every week, and we've talked about that before. And I think we thought that, hey, we have really cool networks, and at times at NRPA we have some really cool, heady conversations that it'd be great to bring other people in. But man, did I totally underestimate how cool it is to be able to curate conversations with people that would totally have said yes to me if I just called Tom and said, hey, do you have an hour? I'd love to talk to you. But it's so much less informal in some ways and so much more just a great conversation. And we're very lucky to be in a spot where we're getting to have them, getting exposed to them, and hopefully our guests are enjoying them as well, because we've had an incredible list of 18 guests that have had a wide range of experience, and I've been able to take something from all of them. That's what's been really cool for me. Is something I did not see coming was that every single conversation we've had, I've been able to write a note or shoot myself an email and say, this is a cool perspective, or this is a cool thing someone's doing, or what a great mindset here. And I'm really fortunate we're getting to do these.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is a different takeaway every week, which is super unique. And at the same time, they all come together for this, just improving quality of life, improving what we do, and just, making communities we serve a better place to be and having fun with it too. I think, we don't talk about that enough. It's like, we're all so busy. We all want to do all these things, but we got to have fun with it while we're doing it, because you know what? End of the day, we all are in Park and Rec.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But awesome time, guys. Looking forward to the next one. Shane, you're up next. Tag, you're it.
I am.
And awesome, guys. Hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too, man.
Your holiday.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Till next time. Take care, everybody.